good morning to everyone on the audio. Thanks for making the time. Essentially, my presentation talks to short-term insurance. The name is Gary Dhombo. I'm executive for Discovery Insure, responsible for new business in the business insurance space. I thought it's important that I just take you through the essence of business insurance, what it entails, what could be the pitfalls. I tried to address about 6 or so questions. I've put my presentation in Word format deliberately so that if need be, I can share my slides with anyone who wants to have those slides. So I'll kick off by basically talking to why the need for insurance cover. Essentially, insurance is a risk transfer mechanism. What the business person is looking to do, or what the individual is looking to do, is pass the risk from their own balance sheet to an insurer. You basically pass that risk to an entity that is prepared to carry that risk, which in this situation would be an insurance company. That frees you as the business person to then go about your daily business without that particular exposure on yourself, which would normally be a huge risk. It can debilitate or can essentially ensure that the business itself could not continue operating. So it's a risk transfer mechanism, like I said. Insurers would then in turn reinsure if there's need for them to reinsure if they cannot carry the entire risk on their own balance sheet, and depending on the size and complexity of the risk that the client would have presented. So every business needs a continuity and forward planning, and that is all what insurance really does. It is one critical cog that ensures business continuity. Businesses or individuals contribute into a pool where the fortunes of many are taken care, where the misfortunes of a few are taken care by the fortunes of the many. So one does not expect every client to have a claim. It's those few clients that have a claim that have contributed into the pool. That pool then ensures that they are compensated accordingly. That's why sometimes you find when rates go up, it's sometimes because the pool itself, where we all contributing our premiums, probably the funds in there are depleted, or the actuaries that they forecasted that they may not be able to meet the obligations in the future. That's why you find sometimes that premiums do go up. So that in brief is insurance. It takes care of some of the major losses as well as some of the minor losses, depending on what the client opts for. Major losses could be the likes of a fire that totally destroys a business. It could be the likes of a hailstorm that can totally destroy the business. And then you've got your minor losses, which could be the loss of a cell phone, etc. All those basically are losses that an insurer would be able to contain. I move on to the next question, which is, am I obligated to continue with my insurance cover? It's a common question that comes up. In the short-term space, in the business insurance space specifically, one is not obligated to continue with their cover. Most policies in the SA market are monthly policies, although one can also take out an annual policy, which is basically a policy paid annually. But still, the obligations on the client and on the insurer are not different. If it's a monthly policy, if the client is no longer keen to continue with cover, they can give immediate notice. That's generally all policies in the market, and in line with treating customers fairly. So a client can give immediate notice that they no longer want a cover to continue. Insurers are obliged to give the client 30 days notice of cancellation. When do insurers normally invoke that? If there are multiple claims from the client, insurers may turn around and amend terms. They may turn around and actually give notice of cancellation, which in this case would be 30 days. And then clients would look for alternative cover elsewhere. Clients may just be unhappy for some other reason. Maybe the premium would have shot up, or a claim could have been repudiated. Clients are not happy with the repudiation on a claim. They can then just turn around and say to the insurer or via their broker, I'm no longer keen to continue with the cover. So there's no real obligation on the part of the client to continue with the policy. It's not a life policy as such. That's why it's called a short-term policy. So you can basically turn around and say, I'm no longer keen, I'm no longer interested to continue with the cover, and you give notice immediately of cancellation. Alternatively, insurers can also give 30 days notice of cancellation to go off risk. Are all policies the same? Again, a very common question that comes up, and it's important to address this question. Not all policies in the market are the same, and it's important for clients to read and understand what we call the small. Advise clients to go through a broker. The main reason why we advise them to go through a broker is because of the legal jargon sometimes that we find in insurance policies. Over time, insurance policies have been simplified, but still to a layman, they are not easy to understand. So it is important to actually try and understand what you're getting yourself into before you sign on the dotted line. And the biggest risk around not understanding your cover is that when you take out an insurance policy, you are saying at some other stage, I may claim. And this is when the real proof has to be your policy is also able to respond, and that you understand what a cover you've got in place. We have had situations where a client submits a claim, and for some other reason, and the claim is repudiated by the insurer. And when that happens, clients are, because that's when they really need the cover. But now it's critical that if you understand what is covered and what is not covered, it's then important for you to understand what you were paying for. Hence the reason why it's important to read and understand your policy. And not all policies in the market are the same. What should I do in the event of a claim dispute? There are a number of areas of recourse that clients can actually take in the event that there is a claim dispute. The first point, obviously, is to engage with the insurer or the broker to understand the reason why the insurer is not entertaining or they are declining your claim. It's also important to understand the genesis of the dispute. And normally the genesis is around the application of insurance. When you apply for insurance, you engage with an insurance advisor. The insurance advisor would basically ask you what is the main. In the process, the advisor must understand your business so that they are then able to articulate that to an insurance company. And this is where normally the gap comes in, because it's when you explain what your real risks are, depending on your profession. If you are a bread manufacturer, for example, the biggest risk you have as a bread manufacturer is probably food poisoning, because you're manufacturing food, and you may be sued because of that. If you are a doctor, exactly the same thing. It's probably medical malpractice. If you are a plumber, it's exactly so. It's most likely then it's third-party liability. You damage the client's property while you are busy trying to do repairs, and you are held liable for that damage. So it's critical at that stage to actually understand that's where most of the disputes arise. It's because the communication right at inception was probably not what it should be. So it's important to understand the genesis of the dispute. Did you fail to disclose some material information at application stage? Again, very critical. One of the reasons why the most claims disputes with insurers is when clients apply for insurance, they do not disclose the entire claims history. Insurers will ask, have you had any claims before? It doesn't necessarily mean claims that you submitted to an insurance company. It just means a claim. So if you had a claim, even whether it was submitted or not, disclose it, because that informs the insurer's rating of your policy. The rating of a policy is based primarily on claims experience. They look at your historical performance and they rate your policy accordingly. The higher the claims, the higher the premium. Now, sometimes clients do not disclose that. It works exactly the same even in the life insurance space. If you asked, for example, if you have had any illnesses or you suffer from whatever kind of illness, or do you drink or do you smoke? If you answer no, and yet you actually partake in those activities, in the event of a claim, there may be a dispute because you did not disclose material information. Exactly the same principle applies as far as short-term insurance is concerned, as far as business insurance is concerned. Clients must disclose and disclose fully so that they give the underwriter the opportunity to be able to assess your exposure. Should one be unhappy about a claim that has been rejected, there are always reference points that one is to look at. This is a contract of utmost good faith. Traditionally, the insurer and the client would just shake hands and a contract is formed. Obviously, now we reduce this to writing and the signatures do apply. But it is a contract of utmost good faith. As such, it's important that the bona fides of both clients is clear upfront so that you avoid unhappy endings. But if there is a dispute, whether in quantum or in the merit of the claim, there's always a recourse on the part of the client. The first recourse is really through the Ombudsman's Office, and the Ombudsman's Office it's a statutory organization. There are two Ombudsman's offices. There's what is called the Ombuds, which is the government entity, and there's again Ombudsman's Office, which is an industry body that is manned by professional lawyers who are steeped in the insurance space and will be able to assist you in actually resolving the dispute. The advantage of going through to the Ombudsman's office really is that it's cheap. In fact, it's free. You don't have to pay for the lawyer service. That is paid by the industry. The industry pulls together and they sustain that office in the interest of fairness. The same with the Ombud, State Ombud, exactly the same principle. It's also free. In the event those two bodies are not able to assist, then you can always appoint your own lawyer to try and represent you. Obviously, that service you would have to pay for, and should you win it, obviously, then the insurers would carry that risk. What risks are specific to the plumbing business? Critical, and then when you engage with your insurer or with the broker, to actually disclose what exactly your activities are, because then they're able to turn around and say to you, these are the risks that we identify with your business. But as a generic approach, most certainly vehicles, which is your tool of trade as a plumber, is the prominent risk. You need cover for your motor vehicles, because if your motor vehicles are off the road, obviously business will stop. So it's important then to actually have good solid cover with, and I must emphasize, with loss of use cover. Loss of use cover on your motor vehicle or car hire on your motor vehicle. In our case, we insist on 60 days car hire as a default position, or even 90 days, because we've realized that most motor vehicles, because parts are delayed, getting parts in from overseas, etc., they are delayed. And once parts are delayed, the challenge then is you run out of car hire and you start picking up that cost yourself. So we insist normally on car hire for 60 days for all our clients as a default position until the client says they don't need the car hire or they've got a substitute vehicle to take care of their business. Otherwise, then the business stops. If you've got one vehicle, for example, in your business, it might just be an even bigger challenge, because then you don't have the ability to move around and service your clients. There's then obviously third-party liability cover, which I referred to earlier on. And for me, that's critical. But you must then ensure that you also have got defective workmanship on your policy. The moment you get third-party liability cover, which is general liability, and including what is called a work-away clause. In other words, a work-away clause is when, as a plumber, you are working on a third-party property away from your premises. You need that cover, because that's where the third party comes in, and that's where the real risk for a plumber, in my view, really lies. So you need third-party liability cover, and attached to the third-party liability cover, you need defective workmanship, which then talks to, if you, just like a doctor, if you are professionally negligent and you're held liable by your client, you are able to restore the client to their pre-loss situation. Your employees, obviously, there's need to have personal accident cover. And that cover is not generally that expensive. Third-party liability cover, it employs a liability cover. This talks to a liability that you are held as an employer. For example, your employee is injured while on duty, while there is COVID, and there could be some statutory covers that are in place. There's need for you to just have that protection yourself so that you're able to respond should your client decide to sue you and you are the one that is held liable. So for me, the critical covers for a plumber, besides obviously their property or their assets, their tools that they carry around with them, is then if obviously if you own the building that you're operating from, you need your fire and allied perils cover. You need business interruption cover if, for example, you are involved in you've got a major loss and you are out of business for a while. You would also need keyman insurance, which really is a life insurance line. But keyman insurance talks to you being disabled for a while, and in the process, then your business does not stop operating. And then turned around and said, why the discovery policy? Again, I'll reference back to all policies the same, and I'll say not all policies are the same, which is exactly what I said. But if we are saying motor vehicle is one of the biggest assets that a plumber and a business person for that matter has got, if we are turning around and saying, yes, motor vehicle insurance then is critical to your line of business, then it's also important that you've got motor cover that responds to the needs, to your needs as a business person. Given the nature of the plumbing business, your vehicles are on the road most hours and odd hours sometimes because you're called in the case of emergency. That's where you need an insurance policy that really responds. There are generic policies out there. The Discovery policy specifically has got what we call Vitality Drive, which is unique to the insurance market. And Vitality Drive, one of the principles, besides the business benefits and the driver benefits, there's what we call impact alert. Impact alert talks to if you're involved in an accident, emergency can be dispatched without you calling for that emergency. In other words, what is there's a gadget fitted on your vehicle that triggers the call center to actually say, Mr. X is in an accident, please dispatch assistance. It can tell the extent of the damage, can actually tell that the impact is actually quite heavy, that probably you need to send through this kind of emergency assist. You could be in an isolated area where you are involved in an accident. It could be a single vehicle accident where there's no witness, but the impact alert can actually alert our course, and then immediately they see that one of their vehicles is actually in an accident. It's unique to Discovery, the impact alert intervention, and I would urge everyone to consider that. I've got it on my kid's car because it's important. Okay, besides my own car, but my kid's car, because my kid is at university at UCT. They are away from home. If he is involved in an accident, impact alert can actually be able to pick up the area where through the geolocation where he is involved in an accident, and be able to dispatch help without me having to be called and be told that your son is in an accident. That's the critical area that I always reference as far as impact alert is concerned, and as far as motor insurance is concerned. Besides that, the policy itself has got other benefits like the driver reward, and there are also other benefits attached to it. But for me, the essential one is the one to life. And we basically reference it as we are creating a nation of great drivers. And that's what we're targeting to do through our interventions, particularly through the Vitality Drive. We've also partnered with a number of entities that assist small businesses. I've highlighted those like the merchant capital, for example, if one wants to access finance, because we realize it can't just be insurance. So ours is not just insurance. We've gone in and actually attached some benefits that we believe are critical to the operation of a business. We've got, for example, a data course that are subsidized through our partnership with MTN. There are educational programs that we believe are critical for businesses to succeed, that we have engaged with Gibbs. Above that, we believe we offer competitive premiums at what we believe is a superior product. I then thought it's important to address lastly an issue that is always important for all clients. We are all impacted by the economy. How do I ensure that I keep my premiums low? The real principle around insurance is it talks to risk management. We always say to our clients, act as if you are not insured. In other words, you need to mitigate risk. You need to be the primary area of mitigating risk. Traditionally, clients would say, I'm insured, so it's okay. It doesn't work like that. We say to our clients, act as if you are not insured in every situation. And if you do that, we then expect one to behave in such a manner that they also want to prevent losses. Improve your security. The moment you improve your security, physical security, you mitigate risk. And when you do that, advise your insurers, they must be able to look at your premiums. That's important. Whether if we're talking driving, how can you improve your driving skills? You go in for advanced driver training, etc. They're offered primarily by some of these big motor dealers. I mean, if you go into a BMW, for example, they offer you driving skills, that kind of thing. That will assist you. Limited mileage. If you are going to limit your mileage, advise the insurer. They must be able to look at your premiums based on limited mileage. Named driver policy. If you've got a specific individual that drives the vehicle, that should have an impact on the policy, as opposed to an open driver policy. But the moment you do that, you must also realize that you advise insurers that this vehicle will only be driven by this individual, and then it mustn't be driven by everybody else. Or policies, generally, the default position is their open driver policies. So if you take out a policy, normally any licensed driver would be allowed to drive. If you're going and then everyone else, you are now obviously you are violating the terms of the policy. Self-insure small claims, we call them nuisance claims. Find a way of insuring your own cell phone. You can put you're not in the risk, you're not charged for it. And then ensure that you can actually take care of that risk should the situation arise. That's what I call your own kit. Review your cover annually. There are certain items that you no longer require after 12 months or after 6 months or after a certain period. Discard or just take them.
Hi, Karim. Looks like we've lost Gary there.
Yes, it seems like he's having technical difficulties on his side. I'll try and contact him, get him back online.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Karim.
Thanks, Steve. There we go. He's back online. Hi, Gary. Are you there?
Sorry, I don't know if because I lost connectivity. Yes, I lost connectivity for a few minutes. I don't know if everyone heard me.
Yes. I think you were discussing the last line on your Word document.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Can I just finish that one on how do I keep insurance premiums low?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my starting point there was act as if you are not insured. We always encourage clients to act as if they do not have insurance cover. That way, and then we expect clients then to mitigate the loss, because you are a co-insured. You are part of the insurance. Improve your security. Look at how best you can improve your security. It can be through installing alarms. If you a vehicle, you can go for advanced driver lessons. Have a named driver policy, but again, be careful that the moment you do that, then your policy should not be driven by anyone else. If you say it's a named driver policy, you get a discount for that. Most policies are open driver policies. In other words, as long as one is a licensed driver, one can drive that vehicle. The moment you turn around and you say you are now restricting cover to only the named driver, then ensure that it's only that particular named driver that drives that vehicle. Self-insure what we call nuisance claims or the small claims. If it's a cell phone, for example, turn around and build your own kitty and start insuring your own cell phone. Start insuring your own laptop. Those small claims, basically you reduce the premium that you pay. Either you self-insure those or you increase the excess. In the process, you compensated by reducing the premium. Review your insurance cover regularly, at a minimum annually. Discard all the items that don't need to be insured. It's important that you do that. We always encourage our clients to review their cover annually. At Discovery, we've come up with what we call a tradesman policy. It takes care of what we believe are some of the imminent risks that are critical to tradespeople, and that includes electricians, plumbers, etc. It's really tailored for that market. It's highly competitive premiums, but offering what we believe are top of the range and defensive mechanisms in the insurance space. Karim, that is the end of my presentation. I'll take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary, for this informative session. There are no questions from the attendees, but there is a request to share that Word document. Is that a possibility, Gary? Would you mind if I share it with the attendees?
Not at all. Please proceed. You can proceed on that basis, Karim.
And then also, Gary, morning. Your contact details, should anybody want to make contact with you, can you share those for us?
Yes, definitely, Steve. Can I give my cell phone number and my email address?
That would be great.
Okay. My cell phone number is 082 796 4201. I'll repeat, 082 796 4201. My email address is Gary, GARID at discovery.co.za. Gary D at discovery.co.za. That's correct. Thank you, Karim. That is the correct email address. Thank you so much.
And then, Gary, just a question. A lot of our projects that the plumbers work on, they change in terms of value, etc. So, again, is it good sort of practice to engage with your broker or your insurer should you be working on a project where the risk is that much higher? And can you amend and change it during the course of the year? So if you were doing a project that had maybe a higher risk for a certain period of time, can you do that?
You can do that, Steve. In certain circumstances, your broker or insurer should be able to say to you, let's work on an estimated annual turnover based on your historical performance, and then we declare at the end of the insurance period. So you'd pay a deposit premium. That deposit premium would then be adjusted at the end of the period. Where a contract then happens in the middle of that insurance period and it's higher than the initial estimated annual turnover that you worked on, you can have a separate policy issued. So in other words, you'll have 15 contracts during the course of the year. If those 15 contracts all fall within, say, an estimated annual turnover that you've agreed on, say, of R1 million, they are automatically covered. At the end of the period, you can always declare. But then you could turn around and have a contract for 20 million. That one would be separately insured and it would be charged separately on that basis. So yes, Steve, it's important that you ensure that your current limit is adequate to take care of your smaller contracts. But when a big contract arises, you should arrange separate cover.
Perfect. Thanks, Gary. And then the other one that we also seem to have is where, yes, the vehicle's covered and the tools covered, but then also goods in transit. Where is that covered in those policies?
It should also be covered, Steve, but goods in transit now, you're talking if, for example, you go into builder's warehouse, you buy plumbing equipment and you carry that to site.
Yes.
Yes, it again on exactly the same basis as the contract that we discussed earlier. You can also do it on the basis that you turn around and you say, I will have plumbing equipment that I carry around to customers' premises of roughly X amount at any given time. Then a load limit is put on the policy. That load limit should be adequate to cover, for example, if a vehicle overturns and that equipment is stolen, or the vehicle is hijacked together with the contents, etc. Whatever perils would be automatically then covered under your goods in transit policy. So it should also work on exactly the same basis. If you can do it on an estimated annual turnover basis, because you really don't know how much you will carry during the year, but at least you know roughly what your load limit will be. Insurers would calculate the premium either based on the load limit or on the estimated annual turnover, and basically your goods in transit would be covered. I think that's very pertinent. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Gary. And then Karim, I see we got a question from Malapasad.
Yes, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to unmute, Malapasad. You are able to unmute and ask your question.
No, I'm sorry. I just pressed by mistake. Sorry, I don't have any question.
All right, no, perfect. Steve, anything else from your side?
Yeah, I think Gary, just thank you again once for coming on and explaining to us. And I think it really is one of those important aspects. We all see insurance as a grudge buy, and we tend to next time we'll cut overheads by not having it. But there's only one thing worse than paying insurance is not having insurance, and now you need it, and that can put you out of business. So I think the key thing for us is to understand these little nuances that come in, vehicle plus. So I think it really is great that you take the time out to sit with us and explain it. And thank you so much. I really do appreciate your insight and very informative this morning. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate. Like I said, you've got my contact details. Please feel free to drop me a note or to just give me a shout and we can engage. Thank you so much.